Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're all about cutting through the tech jargon, giving you what you need without making you memorize a dictionary. And if you've looked for a TV recently, it feels like studying for an exam, right? All these terms flying around, 4K, HDR, 120 Hz, HDMI, 2 point whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But today, we're going to skip the minor stuff. We're focusing on the big one, the main choice, QLED or OLED.
Yeah.
Our mission here is to really boil it down, get to the absolute core of these two screen types so you can actually make a choice you feel good about.
And that's so important because, look, this isn't just choosing between like two different models.
Yeah.
These are fundamentally different ways of making a picture show up on screen. Once you get how they work underneath, all the marketing buzzwords start to make a bit more sense.
Okay, let's unpack that then. The core difference. Maybe start with OLED. What is that exactly?
Right. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode. The key word there is emissive. Think of it like this. Each tiny dot, each pixel on the screen makes its own light. Millions of tiny light bulbs, basically. No need for a separate backlight. It lights itself up.
Self-illuminating.
Okay.
And QLED.
QLED, quantum dot LED TV, that's the opposite. It's transmissive. It's basically a very, very fancy version of the LCD TVs we've had for years. It needs a big backlight, usually LEDs, shining through layers. One of those layers, the important one, has these quantum dots. But yeah, it needs that light source behind it.
Gotcha. So emissive versus transmissive. Self-lighting versus needing a backlight. That's the fundamental split. Let's dig into the QLED part a bit more. That quantum dot bit sounds pretty high-tech.
It does, yeah. But the idea is actually quite neat. They're these microscopic crystals, tiny things. They're put in a film, and when the blue light from the LED backlight hits them, they react by giving off really pure, specific colors, red or green.
Oh, okay. So they aren't making the light. They're kind of filtering it or converting it.
Exactly. Think of them as super precise color filters. They take that basic blue backlight and convert parts of it into very, very pure red and green. This gives you incredibly vibrant colors, way better than older LCDs could manage. Samsung really pushed this starting around 2015, then they branded it QLED in 2017. Others like TCL use them too.
But it still needs that backlight, right?
Mm.
How does a QLED show black if the whole back is lit up?
Good question. That's where local dimming comes in. It's crucial for good QLEDs. The backlight isn't just one big slab of light, it's broken up into zones, sometimes hundreds, even thousands of zones. And these zones can dim down or even turn off completely in the dark parts of the picture. It helps simulate better blacks than a basic LCD.
Okay, simulating blacks. Now, switching back to OLED, the emissive one, no backlight needed at all. LG was the big player there for a long time, but things have really heated up recently, haven't they?
Oh yeah, it's become a real tech battle. LG had the market pretty much to themselves, then bam. 2022, Samsung comes out with QD OLED.
QD OLED, so they're mixing technologies.
Exactly. It's their clever hybrid. They take an OLED panel, which gives you those perfect blacks because pixels can turn off, and they add a layer of their quantum dots. The idea is to use the OLED for the black levels and the quantum dots to, boost the color brightness and vibrancy, areas where traditional OLEDs maybe weren't quite as strong.
Huh. So best of both worlds, maybe. And what did LG do?
LG fired back pretty quickly with something called MLA micro lens array. It's basically this layer of tiny, tiny lenses on top of the OLED panel. Their job is to focus the light that the OLED pixels produce, making sure less light is wasted inside the panel and more comes out towards you. So yeah, it effectively boosts the brightness of their OLEDs without needing more power. It's fantastic competition, really pushing things forward fast.
Okay, tech breakdown complete. Let's get to the main event. How do they actually look? The picture quality showdown. If you care about movies, contrast is king. And that seems to be OLED's ace card.
It really is. Perfect black. That's the killer advantage. Since every pixel makes its own light, if a scene needs pure black, like, deep space, that pixel just switches off, completely off, zero light. And having that perfect black right next to a bright spot, that gives you what we call infinite contrast. The difference between the darkest dark and the brightest bright is technically infinite.
So you see a star, and it's just a point of light. No weird gray glow around it.
Precisely. Now compare that to even the best QLED with all those local dimming zones. They're good, really good sometimes, but they're still fighting that backlight. You can't perfectly control, say, 1,000 zones to match the precision of 8 million individual pixels turning on and off. There's always some light leakage.
That's the blooming effect, right? Where you see a sort of halo around bright text or objects on a dark screen.
Yep, that's the classic sign. The backlight just kind of bleeds through a little around the edges of the bright stuff. OLED doesn't have that problem at all.
Okay. Point OLED for blacks and contrast. But QLED punches back with brightness, doesn't it?
It does. Those powerful backlights mean the top QLEDs can get significantly brighter than any current OLED. They are the undisputed champs of just raw light output, peak brightness.
So isn't that just better? Especially for HDR, that high dynamic range stuff. More brightness must mean more impact.
Well, it's complicated. Yes, QLED has higher peak brightness numbers, which is great for really bright highlights like sunlight glinting off metal. But because OLED starts from perfect black, the difference between its darkest and brightest points, the contrast ratio is still perceived as more impactful by many people, especially in a darker room. That infinite black floor makes the brights pop incredibly, even if the absolute brightest point isn't quite as high as the best QLED. But yeah, if your room is super bright...
The bright room factor. That's a big one for QLED, then.
Huge advantage. If you watch TV in a room with lots of windows and sunlight, that extra QLED brightness can really cut through the glare and maintain a punchy image where an OLED might look a bit washed out.
Okay, practical advantage QLED there. But what about watching with family or friends? Not everyone gets the perfect center seat. Viewing angles.
Clear win for OLED here. Big win. QLED, because it's based on LCD technology with light passing through layers, tends to lose quality pretty fast as you move off to the side. Colors can look faded, contrast drops off. It just doesn't look as good.
So if you have a wide sofa, the person on the end might be getting a noticeably worse picture.
Definitely. OLED, though. Because each pixel is firing light directly out, the picture looks almost identical from pretty much any angle.
Right.
Colors stay rich, contrast holds up. It's much, much better for group viewing.
Good to know. And things like resolution 4K, 8K, and like motion handling. Are they different?
Not really a major difference based purely on QLED versus OLED these days. Both technologies offer 4K and increasingly 8K. And the video processing, handling motion, upscaling, lower res stuff is usually excellent on high-end models from both camps. The core difference really is how they make light and control it.
Okay, let's shift gears then. Away from the tech specs, more towards the real-world stuff. Budget, size, and the risk factor.
Right, practicalities. And size is a big one where QLED often has the edge in flexibility.
Yeah.
Because it's based on that mature LCD manufacturing, they can make QLEDs in a huge range of sizes. You know, from smaller 32-inch sets all the way up to massive 98-inch screens, even bigger sometimes.
Wow, wall-sized TVs.
Pretty much. OLED sizes are generally more constrained, though still plenty big for most. Usually you see them starting around 42 inches up to maybe 97 inches at the very high end.
But it's the price at those big sizes where QLED really pulls ahead, isn't it? Especially if you're trying to stay on a budget.
Absolutely. You get way more screen size for your money with QLED, especially once you get past, say, 65 or 77 inches. Our sources mention, like, a good 77-inch OLED might start around $2,200. Getting an OLED bigger than that gets very expensive very quickly. Producing those huge OLED panels is just way costlier than making big LCD QLED panels.
So if biggest screen possible for my budget is the goal, QLED is probably the answer.
It's definitely the value leader for sheer size, yeah.
Okay, now for the awkward question. The one that always comes up with OLED. Burn-in. Is that still a thing we need to worry about? You know, like a news channel logo getting permanently stuck on the screen?
The ghost in the machine. Look, it's a legitimate phenomenon for OLED technology because it uses organic materials that can degrade unevenly over time with static images. But the risk is massively, massively overstated for most people's normal viewing habits. If you watch varied content, movies, different TV shows, streaming, sports, most gaming, it's extremely unlikely you'll ever see it.
Yeah.
Modern OLEDs also have built-in protection like screensavers, pixel shifting, logo dimming, things to prevent it.
So leaving the pause menu up while I grab a drink isn't going to kill my TV.
No, almost certainly not. Where it could be a concern is for very specific, very extreme use cases. Like if you only watch one 24-hour news channel with a bright static logo for hours and hours every single day, for years. Or maybe a gamer playing the exact same game with the same fixed interface elements, again, for marathon sessions daily over a very long period.
Okay, so for the average viewer, probably not an issue. But for those edge cases?
For those edge cases, yeah, it's a non-zero risk. And for those people, QLED, being inorganic LCD tech, simply doesn't have that potential issue. It offers peace of mind if your viewing habits are really extreme and static.
Right, makes sense. So let's try and pull this all together then, the verdict. If we ignore price for a second, purely based on picture quality, aiming for that cinematic ideal, where do we land?
Comparing high-end model to high-end model in ideal conditions, OLED generally wins on pure picture quality. Those perfect blacks, the resulting infinite contrast, the perfect viewing angles, it just creates an image with incredible depth and accuracy. It's the reference standard for contrast.
But QLED isn't second best. It's more like the sensible choice for certain situations.
Exactly. It's not a consolation prize at all. It's a fantastic technology with its own clear strengths. It comes down to matching the tech to your specific needs and environment. So, if your room is incredibly bright, QLED's brightness is a huge plus. If you absolutely need that giant 85-inch or 98-inch screen but your budget isn't unlimited, QLED makes it possible. Or, if you're one of those rare viewers with extremely static content and burn-in genuinely worries you, QLED removes that worry entirely. It's the smart pick for those specific scenarios.
Okay, so to help everyone listening make that final call, maybe we can boil it down to a few key questions you should ask yourself.
Good idea.
1. How bright is the room where the TV will live? Lots of sunlight, advantage QLED.
Right. 2. Where do people sit? Wide sofa, lots of different angles, advantage OLED for viewing consistency.
3. What's more important, screen size or absolute budget? Want maximum inches per dollar. Likely QLED, especially at large sizes.
Yep. 4. What kind of stuff do you actually watch? Mostly movies and varied shows. OLED is fine. Constant news tickers or the same game HUD for 10 hours a day. Maybe lean QLED for peace of mind.
And finally, 5. What's your absolute top visual priority? If it's getting the deepest blacks and the best possible contrast for that cinematic pop,
then OLED takes it.
So really both are great. There's no single best TV technology overall. It's about finding the best fit for you.
Precisely. And this whole battle isn't over yet. The tech keeps evolving. Samsung's actually working hard on trying to make emissive quantum dot displays. So picture QLED colors and brightness, but with pixels that light themselves up like OLED for those perfect blacks. That's kind of holy grail.
Emissive quantum dots. Wow.
And then looming over everything is micro-LED. This uses millions of microscopic inorganic LEDs like tiny versions of stadium jumbotrons. It promises everything. OLED's perfect blacks, QLED's high brightness, and no burn-in risk because it's not organic. The truly perfect display, theoretically.
Okay, what's the catch?
The catch. Right now, a decent-sized micro-LED TV costs, think high six figures, maybe over $1 million.
Ah, right. So not quite ready for the living room then.
Not quite. But it raises that interesting final thought for you to consider. How fast will the cost of that perfect display tech actually fall? Because eventually it probably will. And that race to bring down the price of perfection, that's what's driving all this innovation we've been talking about.
A fascinating question for the future. But for today, hopefully you've got the knowledge you need to tackle that TV purchase with confidence. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.